Hello everybody and welcome along. This is the final night of TGP2's Season 32 season. It's the title deciding night. We've got 3 drivers all in contention for the championship. Who is going to come out victorious? We've got Dom Smith, your current points leader, bidding for his record 4th TGP2 title. Owen Quimby is the man in second, and he could equal Dom Smith's 3 world titles on TGP2. And then we got John Menzies in the Aston Martin, who is bidding for his first TGP2 title. We've got just over 6 minutes left to go of this qualifying session. I'm Mike Noon, and joining me in the commentary box tonight is Luca Chiapelli, both of us being former TGP2 champions ourselves. Luca, good evening, and welcome along to the title decider.
Good evening, Mike, and thank you for inviting me into the commentary box for what should be an excellent night of racing for the final time this season. So, yeah, very excited to see what's going to come out of this and who's going to come champion out of the night.
Well, yeah, we've got some really interesting races coming up. Obviously, we are here, the first race tonight at Interlagos, the circuit deep in Brazil, just on the outskirts of Sao Paulo, and then we're heading over to Abu Dhabi. Will the title fight go to the last race of the season? We will find out in just a short while's time. You're joining us for a dry qualifying session at Interlagos, but rain is in the air for the race. There's no guarantees at the moment looking at our forecast whether we're going to have a wet or a dry start, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as we move through the qualifying session and into the race. I mean, Luca, for the drivers, to have that sort of variable thrown into the mix as well, I mean, how does that affect the nerves?
Yeah, it's one of those that can really throw you off, and drivers really need to concentrate a lot more when wet conditions are about, and they need to also think about what their strategy is going to look like when it's a wet to dry race, which I believe it's going to be, as I'm currently on board with Jacko, who's just gone for a spin. But yeah, drivers really need to make sure they've got their concentration levels as much as ready as they can, and yeah, keep
well,
it all together.
Someone who maybe hasn't had their concentration levels about them so far in this qualifying session is Owen Quimby. The man, as we said, P2 in the championship at the moment, currently down in P10 for this qualifying session. He's on a quicker lap at the moment, and it did flash up there. It's him going purple in Sector 1. We'll give you a rundown of the order, the provisional order, that is, just after Owen has finished his lap, who is still going quickly. After the middle sector, 4 tenths up on his personal best and still showing us purple. So, could this lap now finally bring Owen Quimby into the mix? And is he going to be up there in the quickest times? He comes to the line now. Where's it going to be? It's only P4. He's a tenth and a half down on the provisional pole sitter at the moment, which is John Menzies, the other man in the title fight, but that's much better from Owen Quimby, and he might, Luca, just about have enough time to get back to the pits, bolt on another set of softs and go back out.
Yeah, I think he will. It's a short lap round here, and it looks like he's really attacking the in-lap anyway to make sure he does get that final run. But it'll be interesting to know how many sets of tyres he's actually used to try and get that, because he did invalidate his first 2 attempts earlier on in the qualifying session. So the pressure on here for Mayor Quimby for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see how he gets on. Hopefully, he'll be in the mix of the race. At the moment, we do have a tantalisingly set up. The man, as we said at the moment, P3 in the driver's standings. John Menzies is your provisional pole sitter. Magic Buchanan, who isn't in the title hunt, currently sits in P2. Dom Smith, the championship leader, P3. Dom Smith with the record for the most TGP2 wins, which he took this season. Mayor Quimby at the moment in P4. Sayer Sports with a good showing for Aston Martin. They really need him to be doing that to try and help John at the moment in P5. Jack Craig, P6. The man we're riding with at the moment, Speed Sully, is P7. At the beginning of the season, it looked like he was going to be in a really good spot to challenge for this title, and he's just put himself into P3, so a good lap there for the Alpine driver. That now means Jacko is 8th, M. Shep is in 9th, and Lewis Craig is rounding out. Luca, your fellow Manx man, and obviously, as we said, outgoing TGP2 champion, he just hasn't hit a groove this season, has he?
No, he hasn't, by the looks of things. Maybe due to the massive regulation change that obviously happened this year, that the car just doesn't suit him, or he can't find a setup that really works for him around the tracks that are in this season. Not quite sure what it's down to, but yeah, just one of those things where he's not being able to defend the title due to probably the massive regulation change. So, well, unfortunate for him anyway.
Well, I was just about to say there, Luca, we had John Menzies coming up to the line. He's gone early on his final lap, but it's paid off. He's now put 3.5 tenths between himself and the next man in P2, which is Magic Poop Cannon, and who's still in the pits. He's just leaving the pits, I have to say. And we've got Dom Smith, who's just about to start a flying lap, Luca. So let's ride on board with the Ferrari driver. And Luca, talk us through your fellow Man's lap and what could be his final lap of this qualifying session.
Yeah, sure. So braking around the 50-metre board and trying to stay nice and tight in on this left here, get a better exit here, and then full throttle through the gears, 7, DRS open, going up to 8 now. Looking for your braking spot on the right-hand side with those brake border markers. So around the 100-metre board, nice and tight to the left here. Don't go out wide on the right there because you will lose a lot of time. And then just sweeping through this corner, making sure to use all of the track there. Braking around the 50-metre board here. Try and keep it in nice and tight. Take as much curve as you can around this corner, and then you want to take a lot of curve round here. Dom not quite hitting that as much as he wanted to, but he's staying nice and tidy round here. As he's coming up to here, this is a tricky corner. You've got to go out wide to keep it nice and tight in, and then very easy on the throttle as you go through here. And then you want to take a wide out to the left-hander. You can lose the back end if you've got a bit of a layering car here, and then into John Cow, take the curb, and then straighten up right out the exit. He's had a bit of a wild moment there, so that's going to compromise his exit and his speed all the way down this back straight. But now he's looking for the DRS line. DRS wide open. Stay nice and tight in on the left here to make the shortest distance. And what's this time going to be? He hasn't improved. It's plus almost 3/10 on his final attempt. So Dom not going up the order, unfortunately.
Whoa, a very scruffy lap there from Dom Smith, you have to say, and it's not put him in a particularly good spot. He's got drivers around him who are out on the track and could potentially improve. So I've got to say, Dom leaving himself open. We're now watching Mayor Quimby, who's got a hell of a lot of traffic in front of him at the moment. He's got a Williams just in front of him. He hasn't found time through the first sector. We've got Magic
wide as well.
Has he backed out of it?
He went quite wide. He's lost quite a lot of time there.
Well, we'll see as Owen rises up the hill now, as Lucas said. You need to keep it nice and tight there, but the traffic in front of him surely will not help. You've got Magic Poop Can at the moment, who's just coming to the line. Is he going to get to the line in time? I don't think he is. I think he's going to have his session ended. There's the checkered flag, and he does take the flag. So
as well.
He's not going to be improving. Owen's not going to be improving. How about Joe Sayer? Joe Sayer at the moment just heading through the middle sector. Can he help his teammate out? His teammate on provisional pole position. And at the moment, no, Joe Sayer has gone wide. He's invalidated his lap time. What about anybody else? Jack Craig, the Williams driver then, winding his way through the middle sector. Jacko's got up into P2. Fantastic lap for the Mercedes driver. Dom Smith and Owen Quimby have pitted, as has John Menzies. Jack Craig then will be the next man to come up to the line. And as he's going up through the gears, are we going to see an improvement for the Williams driver? Currently sat P8. He is someone who could mix it with the cars in front. He's only got a 10th to find to put himself up a couple of places, and he's done so. He joins the front row. He's up there with John Menzies, and it's a great lap for the Williams driver, which therefore pushes Dom Smith and Mayor Quimby even further away from John Menzies, who's had the qualifying session he exactly wanted when he woke up this morning, and he's going to find himself on pole position with his nearest challenger in P6.
What a lap that was from Jack Craig to get into second position and really upset the order there for the championship leader. John Menzies seems to be in a class of his own with those times there. So really good qualifying session.
Yep, that's lined us up very nicely for the race coming up. It's a really interesting grid, this one. Let me give you a rundown of how they're going to be starting for the penultimate round of season 32 of this TGP2 season. So John Menzies is your pole sitter for the Aston Martin. He's joined on the front row by fellow Scotsman Jack Craig. P3 is gone to Jacko with Magic Poop Cannon in P4. Speed Sully in P5 just about missed the checkered flag as well, so he didn't get a final run in with Dom Smith, your championship leader, down in P6. Mayor Quimby is in P7 with Sayer Sports P8, M Shepherd's P9, and Wet Lemons rounds out the top 10 with Lewis Craig in P11, Daniel P. Wilnut in P12, F1 Bazza in 13th, Nell Jack in 14th, then we have Mick Schumacher in 15th, Red Bull Kim 17th, Kaya in 17th, Indecisive Mackie 18th, Mr. John, and Angel vs. Death, your last row. So, Luca, we are expecting a wet race, so it's not going to be quite plain sailing for the drivers out there. I mean, is this a sort of circuit where you can get away with it a little bit more in wet weather conditions, or are you still having to make sure you're hitting your marks?
You definitely have to be hitting your marks here. I think we would go back to TGP2 season 21, where we had that massive accident right off the start. I think going through turn 3. So,
who can forget that?
Yeah, exactly. You can forget that. So it's definitely one of those ones where you have to be really, really certain that you are going to hit your marks. And safety car, I've been told, is going to be possibly making an appearance here if the drivers don't keep it nice and clean. So one to watch out for. But it looks like a dry start, Mike.
It looks like a dry start, and we've got 3, 4, 5 lights for the penultimate round of Season 32 in TGP2, and they're underway, and it's a good start for John Menzies, and Jacko nearly spins round, and he nearly spins in the path of Dom Smith, but the Mercedes driver is now falling down the field. Dom Smith caught up there, and he spun! Dom Smith is round! The championship leader is now at the back of the pack, and the Ferrari driver has dropped a lot of places. Mr. John's been caught up in something as well as Bazza, and it's now Ferrari P15 and 16. We've got a car off in the background. Kai has found the wall, and we could very well see a safety car in the early stages. We didn't have the wet weather that we had a couple of seasons ago, but we have got drama nonetheless, and we do have a full course yellow, which I'm presuming means we're going to be having a safety car. But my goodness me, Luca, if Dom fancied an easy start to this race, he's got far from it.
Yeah, an absolute disaster for Dom there. I didn't quite catch that one as I was looking at some more action down the field, but Dom in 15th place, just outside the points here. He's going to have to really be careful now and make sure that he chooses those battles the best he can in order to make sure he's got the points to take on Owen and John Menzies. John Menzies here looking like he could be making a real dent into the championship after this race.
And we go green. It was a VSC rather than a safety car, which has helped many drivers out. Owen Quimby is putting a lot of pressure on the back of Seed Sully at the moment as they head towards the start-finish line. Owen Quimby is alongside the Alpine driver. As we head towards turn number 1, he is ahead, but M-Shep is getting quite racy as well. He's all over the back of Owen Quimby. He's going to try and go the long way around the outside. He's later on the brakes, but Owen, for the moment at least, hangs on to that 4th place, which he so well earned at the restart. Dom Smith, meanwhile, has made his way up to 14th place, and has now, as things stand at the moment, going to be earning himself 1 championship point. Meanwhile, back at the front, John Menzies is on course for 25. Really good restart from him. He's kept a good gap to Jack Craig behind. Magic Poop Cannon is giving Jack Craig a lot to worry about at the moment, and John Menzies will not mind that at all. As long as he can keep the Williams occupied, then he can just focus on his race in front. Owen would quite like these two to be caught up in each other as well and try and catch up to these two. And let's not forget, there's still the threat of rain.
Yeah, so Dom Smith has just made up another position now, so he's now got back 2 positions after that safety VSC restart. Only now losing 6 positions from the start, which is not too bad considering he spun right at the start of the race. So Dom Smith making his way back up the field here, Mike.
Yeah, well, and he needs to do so, and his next car is Jacko, who were backwards at the start. He got his typical bad starts, Jacko, and he went from 3rd, dropping all the way down to about P12, so disaster for him. Meanwhile, John Menzies is doing exactly what he needs to do, as we got a battle for 2nd place, and we got Magic Poop Cannon trying to go the wrong way round of Jack Craig, and as they head now through turn 3, Jack Craig still has the advantage, but this is doing exactly what John Menzies would want. He's got a big gap now to the cars behind, and here comes Owen Quimby then, on the inside of Magic Poop Cannon. They're going to go 3 wide into turn number 4. Owen on the inside has made up 2 positions. He's up to P2. The Alpha Tauri driver was brave. He was late on the brakes, and he's got his reward, and now he can get his head down on focus on trying to catch John Menzies.
Wow, some fantastic racing there and some great trust in the drivers as well to be able to go 3 wide into that corner. Not an easy feat, as it does. The track does fall off and away from you and gets tighter as you keep going round. So great move there from Mayor Quimby. Dom Smith must be absolutely livid at the fact that Mayor Quimby and John Menzies are at the front here whilst he's stuck down in 12th at the moment.
Yep, M-Shep now putting pressure on his teammate, and he's got Sully behind him. Sully gets very close to the back of the Alfa Romeo driver, and these two now starting to lose touch a little bit with Jack Craig in front of them, battling each other. M-Shep should picked up a penalty, and he almost picked up damage from his teammate there. These three going 3 wide as we head into turn number 1. Magic Poop Cannon without the DRS, and it's hurt him dearly. He's lost 2 positions there, down into turn number 1, and I tell you what, there was no life loss there between the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers, very nearly making contact.
Yeah, indeed. I was also watching as there was some close battling going on between Jacko and Lewis Craig, which is only going to help Dom get back up that order. He's now within DRS range of Lewis Craig to help him go up that order, but Mayor Quimby, 3.8 seconds still behind John Menzies, so not making any inroads at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the different tyres, which we haven't really spoken about yet either, Luca. Most drivers going for the soft tyres, perhaps thinking that we're going to get the rain coming, which we are still expecting. We don't know when. Other drivers going for the medium tyres, perhaps thinking it's going to be a little bit longer until this rain falls, and can go a little bit longer then into the race, and then switch straight on to some wet weather tyres, whether that's intermediates or the full wets. Dom Smith then, your championship leader, 3 times a TGP2 champion in the past, going for his 4th title, and at the moment stuck down in the 12th place and only picking up 3 points, but he's going to go straight past Lewis Craig, who doesn't make it very difficult for him at all, and Dom Smith now up into 11th place.
Yeah, so Dom Smith making that all-important move, and Jacko seeming to get some DRS as well from the driver in front, but looks like it's going to be much easier for Dom. This as somebody has just had a quick...
It was Daniel P. Wilnut. He outbraked himself into turn 1, and that's allowed Jacko through, and the reigning outgoing TGP2 champion now falls down into 10th place, whereas a few moments ago he was just battling for P9. Will his fellow Islander... Dom Smith find it as easy to get past the McLaren driver?
Yeah, one thing to note when you do spin around this circuit here is that the tyre temperatures go absolutely insane on the new surface and carcass tyre model that we're running for these new seasons, and Daniel P. Wheel is going to really struggle now for probably a lap and a half whilst he tries to get those tyres back down to the tyre temperature windows. So as you saw, Dom Smith made it very easy round him, so an easy one there for Dom. Yeah,
he's now worked his way up in 10th place. That's going to be 5 championship points for him. His title rivals, though, scoring 25 and 18. Let's remind you, point scorers in TGP2 goes all the way down to 14th place. It's 1 point for 14th and 25 for the win. And at the moment, Dom Smith is going to be sacrificing a lot of points to his championship rivals. Meanwhile, further ahead, we've got a fantastic battle going on for P3. M-Shep thought he got the job done on Jack Craig, but didn't quite manage to do it. And now he's going to have to keep an eye on his mirrors because he's got Speed Sully right behind him. And look who's still there. It's Magic Poop Cannon. So these 4... still keeping each other occupied and entertained, but as we head down now into turn 4, it's still as they were. Worth noting, M-Shep does have a 3-second penalty. He picked up a couple of laps ago for multiple warnings, which now Mick Schumacher has joined him. So, these 4 then, none of them in title contention, it's worth noting, but at the moment playing a big role in this title, because if they keep it on the road, then that's 4 cars that Dom Smith is going to be behind his championship rivals, Mayor Quimby and John Menzies. Let's remind you then, those are the 3 drivers we need to be keeping an eye out for in the championship hunt. Magic Poop Cannon, though, getting very close to the back of Speed Sully, and Speed Sully might fancy a move past the other Alfa Romeo driver at the moment of M-Shep. M-Shep, as we said, with that 3-second penalty, which we replied at the end of the race. But at the moment, M-Shep's having to keep an eye on his mirrors because he's got a very racy Alpine behind him, Luca.
Indeed, as Dom Smith has made up another position there, now into 9th position behind Jacko still. So Jacko and Dom really making their way up the field as Mayor Quimby has pitted. So the pit stops now initiating for the soft tyre drivers. So they're going on to the dry. So I don't know if any rain is going to be coming this session, Mike.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. It seems that Owen's pretty confident it's not going to happen. Owen rejoins. He's at the moment, he's going to be down around sort of Mick Schumacher sort of way, so we will have a little bit of clear air. Meanwhile, Magic Pucan has just nipped up the inside, but he's run wide, and he's got past the Alpine Speed Sully, and these guys now battling over 2nd place after Mayor Quimby's pit stop. So after we've had a round of pits and we know where everyone is going to be roughly in the race order, we'll give you a little bit of an update on the championship standings as things will stand at that time. No point giving it to you in the middle of pit stop action. But what I can tell you is that just before Owen Quimby's pit stop, Dom Smith was going to continue leading the championship, but by only 6 points to Owen Quimby and 16 points back to John Menzies. As things stood before the pit stops, it will be going down to the wire in Abu Dhabi. Meanwhile, now Joe Sayers getting involved on the action, but he doesn't have to make a move past M-Shep or Speed Sully because both of them have peeled off into the pits, releasing him now to go after Magic Poop Cannon. Interestingly, most of the soft tyre runners coming into the pits now, including Dom Smith as well, and we're left now mainly with just the medium runners still pounding round in the laps. Mayor Quimby, where's he going to come out in relation to Speed Sully? He is quite far ahead, actually. So Owen will maintain that gap, and he's still got 4 seconds up the road to his next car, so he's going to have a couple of laps of pumping into good times, and that could make it quite difficult for John Menzies to pit and come out in the lead, but on arguably, well, he will have fresher tyres, maybe will mitigate some of the damage. So Luca, we are going to be fast approaching half race distance in just a few moments time, and well, it's been all happening in this first half of the race, but still no sign of rain.
Yeah, it's been an exciting one. As you say, still no sign of rain, and looking at the clouds, there is a couple of dark clouds out there on the horizon, but nothing too much to be worried about. So something interesting to note that I picked up was Seiya Sports has some quite major wing damage on the front of that Aston Martin, so he might be an easy pass coming into later in the race for when Dom is working his way up.
Yeah, and worth noting as well there, Jack Craig has just picked up a 3-second penalty, which could be crucial in that battle, as we said, for the minor podium places. John Menzies has just pitted. He's coming out the pit. And for the John Menzies fans out there, which might be Scotland, don't know which way you turn, he is still ahead of Mayor Quimby with a good buffer as well, about 5.5 seconds. So it's working really well at the moment for the Aston Martin driver, but still a long way to go. Just at half distance then. And we've had most of the drivers who have come into the pits, most of them starting on that soft tyre. But your race order at the moment then, Jack Craig in first position, Joe Sayer P2 with what we suspect some light front wing damage, Jacko P3, Lewis Craig P4, Wet Lemons P5 and Neil Jack P6. None of those drivers have pitted yet, worth remembering that. Your lead driver, who has pitted then, John Menzies, the car we're watching on screen now, closing up to the back of Dom Smith's teammate Alex Coates in P7. Indecisive Mackie is in P8, hasn't pitted yet. And Mayor Quimby then in P9 has made a pit stop. And then we've got M. Shep 4 seconds behind Owen. So Owen, at the moment, is looking quite safe in P2, as long as he can keep it between the white lines and keep it out of trouble. And Owen's now getting quite close to the back of Indecisive Mackie, and you're going to expect, Luca, that the AlphaTauri driver is going to want to get through there pretty quickly.
Yeah, Indecisive Mackie hasn't pitted yet as well, so Owen should be keeping note of that and making sure he's aware of that before he tries to do anything silly for this championship. And yeah, he's right behind him coming into the DRS zone. He's got 11% ERS. He's going to make this very easy. Indecisive Mackie's not going to put too much of a fight up for him, and he's up into 8th place there, Mike.
Yep, that was pretty crucial there for Owen Quimby, but look at him, he's part of 7 seconds behind John Menzies, so that does give John a little bit of breathing room, just in case he does make some minor infringements with the white lines. John himself now, as we said, right on the back of Dom Smith's teammate Alex Coates, and how difficult is Alex Coates going to make this for the Aston Martin driver? The Tifosi, they're going to be watching this from behind their cushions, behind their sofas, behind their pastas, and they're going to be really hoping that their man Dom Smith can claim his 4th title, but he's not making it easy for himself at the moment. But he has, interestingly, caught the back of Speed Sully, Luca. So, and Speed Sully, let's not forget, was in the battle for the minor podium places. So it's not all lost yet for Dom Smith, but there is still a number of drivers we are waiting to pit.
It's not at all, as the undercut is very powerful here by the looks of things. Just to give you an idea as to how powerful it is, Mayor Quimby made up 2.5 seconds on John Menzies in the pit stops alone. So it's looking positive for Dom here, even though he's down in 13th place at the moment. He's going to make up some significant spaces when the medium runners come in for their one stop.
Yeah, we've just seen the Alfa Romeos as well change positions during all of that too. And Magic Poop Cannon now up ahead of M. Shep. M. Shep, you would think, with his 3-second penalty, wouldn't challenge his teammate too much. But then again, this is M. Shep, the man from Bristol. He's got a mind of his own. He's more than entitled to battle with his teammate. But for the bigger picture, maybe he'll leave him alone. Speed Sully has not got very much pace, and he's just let Dom Smith through, actually. I was just keeping an eye on that. Has the Alpine driver got some damage, Luca, or do we think maybe he's just struggling in this stage of the race?
Just trying to have a look to see if there's any damage on the front wing. Nothing that I can see. Oh yeah, no, sorry, my camera angle's not looking good here. No, I can't see any damage, so maybe he's just trying to assist him up the road. Maybe he's not got the pace. Maybe he made a mistake.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there, Luca. I'm just seeing John Menzies overtaking Wet Lemons. And Wet Lemons not making it very easy for the Aston Martin driver at all. He's probably conscious he's got Alex Coates just behind him, and Wet Lemons still fighting this. And I'd say John Menzies has probably lost a second, maybe a second and a half in time there. But they got almighty close through turn 2, and I thought for a moment we might have seen some contact, but luckily for John Menzies, he got away with it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they're going to be fighting position still at this point, even though they haven't made a pit stop. Anything could happen, especially as safety car is on for this race. So don't give up your positions if you don't have to, because you could well gain them in the safety car period if there is one.
Yep. So we've just seen Jack Craig about to cross the line again, or is he going to come into the pits? He's about to cross the line again to start lap number 13. Oh, Sayre Sports has come into the pits. Are we going to see him perhaps change his front wing, as you said, with that front wing damage? Jacko has stayed out, so this is going to now push John Menzies up into 4th on the road, but with 3 drivers in front of him, still yet to pit. It's cut down now to that. Yes, they are changing the front wing for Aston Martin, so that's going to knock Joe out of the running. That's going to surely give Dom Smith yet another race position, and it does. Dom Smith just been quietly getting on with things at the moment, making up ground when he needs to, not taking too much out of the tyres, and with now just 6 laps to go, are we going to see him reap the rewards of that? He is, let's not forget, just 2 seconds off the back of M-Shep. No, sorry, 2.5 seconds off the back of M-Shep, and M-Shep with a 3-second penalty. Sully now with a 3-second penalty as well. So Dom could still pick up some positions. Let's not forget Jack Craig's still got a pit. He's got a 3-second penalty. Indecisive Mackie not making it very easy for not making it too difficult for Dom Smith at all, letting him through. And yeah, Luca, I have to say, things aren't looking too bad for Dom, actually. They've looked a lot worse this race.
Not at all. I mean, he's got 48% ERS on board as well. As Indecisive Mackie picks up a 3-second time penalty. And yeah, I think you're spot on. He's just been biding his time, making his way up the field quietly, not making too many inroads into the cars ahead, just waiting for it to naturally progress. And I think, yeah, he's up to 8th position now. Still 3 runners at the front there that need to make their pit stops. So yeah, I think he's going to be looking good for getting some points out of this race, Mike.
It intrigues me that the front 3 are staying out as long as they are. Luca, I can't help but notice out my commentary box window, we are getting some dark clouds moving over us. Are the top 3 anticipating some rain in the last 5 laps?
Well, it was scheduled to have some rain coming, what we thought was going to be earlier in the race, at the start of the race. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Drivers really holding out here, 4 laps. I mean, it would have to absolutely bucket it down for it to make a difference for them to go on to the intermediates, in my opinion. But yeah, it could be a hell of a gamble. I mean, could you imagine the top 3 being of Jack Craig, Jacko and Lewis Craig at the start of this race? I couldn't have seen that personally, but at the end of the day, you've got to take the opportunities as and when they come.
You certainly do. Jacko has just ruined that because he's coming to the pits. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Dom Smith. But Jack and Lewis Craig at the moment still staying out. John Menzies less than a second behind Lewis Craig now. Jacko is going to come out of the pits behind Dom Smith. So Dom Smith at the moment up to 7th. Jacko was in between Lewis and Jack Craig, so you'd have to say that when Lewis Craig came into the pits, that would promote Dom another place. He's looking good for 6th place at the moment, Luca, which would make it 5th after M-Shep's penalty.
Yeah, so Jack Craig and Lewis Craig yet to pit, and the way that the undercut's working around here, I think he could even get 4th place if it kind of goes the way it's going. So, yeah, I think it's looking very good for Dom here to really damage limitation, I'd call it, even though 4th place is still a worthy position anyway. So, yeah, good for Dom in these closing stages of the race. Yeah,
well, here we go then. We're moving into the final 3 laps. Your race leader still hasn't pitted. Your 2nd place man still hasn't pitted, and I'm seeing rain on my screen. My goodness gracious me, the Craigs have played a blinder, but is it going to rain hard enough? Are we going to see enough coming down? And are we going to see results change? Who's going to make the first call? Is there long enough left for it to make an impact? Luca, what's going on?
Yeah, it looks, the rain's coming down, but I don't think it's coming down hard enough for the drivers to be making a change to the intermediate tyres. So, yeah, it could have played a blinder here if it's going to get any heavier in the next lap or so, but if it was me, I'd just be coming in, putting those soft tyres on and just hoping for the best to get to the end of the race, because intermediates would absolutely destroy your race in a drier setting at the moment. So a tough
DRS disabled, Luca.
DRS has been disabled. Unbelievable.
It's raining. It's properly raining.
It's on the intermediates. Wet Lemons has put the intermediate tyres on, and he's nearly binned it coming out of the pits there. But let's see what his lap times are looking like and what he can do on these, and that'll be a decider. Red Bull Kim on the intermediate tyres as well. And
Jack Craig's pitted. Oh, he sped! He sped in the pits! It's a 5-second penalty! That could have been... He's got a 3-second penalty already. He's now got 8 seconds worth of penalties, which he's going to have to face. John Menzies has retaken the lead of his race. He's stayed out. What are we going to see Dom Smith do? Dom Smith has stayed out. Owen Quimby has stayed out. They're all playing it safe. Oh my goodness me, we've got 2 laps left to go. Jack Craig then is wiggling his way out of the pit lane now. Is the delta going to be big enough to make it worthwhile? Is everyone going to struggle enough? We've got 2 laps left to go. John Menzies just needs to keep it in the white lines. He's got 7.5 seconds advantage over Owen Quimby in second place. And Jack Craig is absolutely flying. Look at him go. He's putting all kinds of pressure on M-Shep as we head to the double right-hander now. He's got the position. He's up into 4th place. The intermediates are the right tyres to be on.
This is unbelievable scenes. Yeah, I was trying to look to see what the intermediate tyres runners were doing, but my deltas have completely frozen on screen, unfortunately. But yeah, looks like, yeah, Jack Craig is absolutely flying on those intermediates. What a fantastic gamble and decision to be made for this wet race.
Well, we were promised rain to come at some point, but what do you do now? The top 2 positions, what do you do? You've got to stay out, haven't you? John Menzies has stayed out. Where's Owen Quimby? Owen's just riding the hill now. He's really struggling. Look at him. He's got Magic Poop Cannon all over the back of him. Owen Quimby is struggling for traction. He's struggling to stay in control, and he's struggling to hold on to second place. This is huge for the championship. And he's got Jack Craig just behind him. Let's not forget, Jack has 8 seconds worth of penalties, so he'd have to get 8 seconds up the road of these 2, and he's trying to squeeze in the middle of them, and it's not quite working, but he is ahead of Poop Cannon. Owen Quimby is snaking around the first corner, and Jack Craig has now moved up ahead of him. Lewis Craig has just overtaken Dom Smith. Dom Smith now dropped to 7th place. Can Jack Craig catch 9.5 seconds? Well, let's be honest, it's basically 18 seconds he needs to catch and be ahead of John Menzies by the finish line if he's going to win this race.
Yeah, it's a very tall order for him, but that time is coming down significantly. Now 7.5 seconds. Can he make it to cross the line ahead of John Menzies? That's one of the questions, but more importantly for the actual championship, can he get ahead of Mayor Quimby, those 8 seconds as you mentioned before? This is exciting stuff, Mike.
Well, this is coming down to the wire. Let's forget about is that Glock. I mean, we need to see is that Craig, and is he going to be able to get 8 seconds? I don't think he is. Rounding the final proper corner now is John Menzies squirreling round the corner. Dom Smith has dropped behind Joe Sayer. He's dropping the order like flies. Jack Craig is going to take the lead of the race. He sneaks past John Menzies. John Menzies runs wide, but he doesn't get a penalty. Jack Craig is going to cross the line first, but the win is going to go to John Menzies. And meanwhile, further back, Lewis Craig has moved up into 3rd place. He's slowing down. Why is he slowing down? Oh, yeah, I think he was trying to keep Jack Craig in 2nd place. And look at this to the line. Mayor Quimby and Magic Poop Cannon have crossed the line almost together. Mayor Quimby holding on to 4th place. Magic Poop Cannon is 5th. M-Shep is 6th. But something's happened to Dom Smith. He's really struggling out there. He is going to gain the place back off of Sully, but it's P8. He was in 5th place just a matter of just a lap ago, and he nearly got overtaken by Neljak, and Jacko was coming too. So you're right, Luca. It's damage limitation for Dom, but it's 8th place.
Yeah, 8th place. I wouldn't have said that come the start of lap 17 when all of this drama started to unfold. Yeah, so that's unlucky for Dom. He was damned if he did, damned if he didn't, if he pitted at that point, because he'd have lost so many positions, considering he'd made his one stop already. So, yeah, damage limitation there for Dom, but what a fantastic gamble for Lewis Craig and Jack Craig to get themselves on the podium, Mike.
Unbelievable stuff. It's an all-Scottish podium in Brazil, with John Menzies taking the win. Lewis Craig in P2, and got driver of the day as well, very much deserved. Bold call on the strategy, but it worked. And then Jack Craig rounding out the podium. He crossed the line first, and if he hadn't sped in the pits, he would have at least got 2nd. And he would only have been 2 seconds off the win. But there is your race winner. John Menzies is still in the title fight. With the results as they were in Brazil, he is still in the title fight. Only just. We will give you a rundown of the points in just a few moments' time. The Aston Martin mechanics absolutely loving that. Look at them go. Aravin's loving it, and so's John. Yes, yeah, you're right, Jack McCurdy. It was a great race. What a race we've just witnessed. And what a way to round off this TGP2 season. And, well, Luca, it's off to Abu Dhabi.
It's off to Abu Dhabi. Yeah, I've got a run down of the points here. We'll discuss that later. But what a fantastic race it was in Brazil, especially with that wet finish and Lewis Craig making an almighty gamble in order to get those points. And yeah, the title fight getting hotter and hotter, and it's getting tight at the top, Mike.
Yeah. Now, well, let's give you a rundown of the order as they are at the moment for the Brazilian TGP2 Grand Prix of Season 32. John Menzies, your race winner. Lewis Craig in P2 and Jack Craig in P3. Mayor Quimby, P4 with Magic Poop Cannon, P5. M. Shep rounded out P6. A good solid result for Alfa Romeo. Slayer Sports in P7 with Dom Smith, your championship leader, P8. Now Jack P9 with Jacko in P10. Speed Sully P11. Wet Lemons in P12. Mr. John P13. And Indecisive Mackie, your last point scorer with Angel vs. Death, Mick Schumacher, Red Bull Kim, Bazza, Daniel P1 and Kaya all missing out on points. Well, we've had someone knock their head together, get a pencil out, do a few calculations for us. So, with one race to go, the standings are as follows. Dom Smith has got 278 points. Owen Quimby is second place on 264 points. He is 14 points trailing, with John Menzies on 261 points, 17 points trailing. So, 17 points separate your top three going into the final round of Abu Dhabi, which is coming up next.
Wow. 17 points, who'd have thought from the start of that it would have been... Yeah. I mean, it's the 3 points between Owen and John that is the one that's really spicy. Dom has to just get a decent race round here in Abu Dhabi to ensure the title is his. And just make sure he just runs a clean race, not get spun off in the first few corners there, Mike.
Well, it's huge, really. Excuse me. And it's really going to be really interesting to see as well quite how this race plays out. You've got Dom Smith, who you would have thought it's just got to play it safe. He knows that all he has to do is finish fourth, and he has a fourth championship. He could afford to finish fifth and take a fastest lap, if my maths serve me right, but that will go back to count back then. Yeah, that'll go to count back. But nonetheless, I'll tell you what, Luca, though, if I was anyone right now, I'd want to be John Menzies. You know, the momentum is on your side. You've taken pole, you've taken a race win. You know, you held your own out in Brazil. Is he the dark horse for this title? Is he actually not even the dark horse? Could he even be the favourite? Weirdly.
Well, yeah, with the points trailing at the moment, I wouldn't say he's the favourite, but as you mentioned quite importantly there, momentum is such an important thing when it comes to a championship fight. I remember being season 21, I had the momentum all on my side against my fellow rival at the time, and it just gives you so much more confidence, and it just gives you, this kind of power to just take on your fellow driver and really put them in a position they don't really want to be in. John Menzies, I'd put my money on for taking at least second in the driver's title, and if Dom doesn't have a very good race, could well take the title. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race going into it. It's going to be interesting to see what the drivers are going to be doing in terms of strategy, if they're going to try anything different to get an advantage. And luckily, we're not going to see any, probably not going to see any rain in Abu Dhabi, but the safety car is on, so anything could happen, Mike. And this is going to be an almighty showdown for the driver's title.
Well, this is going to be excellent, Luca. This is going to be absolutely momentous. We've got three drivers still in with a chance of taking this TGP2 title. We've got 18 minutes of qualifying coming up for you now. And then we've got a 25% race to decide who is going to be champion of Season 32 of TGP2. What drama we had in Brazil. Dom was just hoping for a nice, easy race. Probably didn't even want any rain. He might have wanted the rain as the race got on, but he would have wanted it earlier so he could have made the pits to put on the intermediate tyres. But he just didn't get the opportunity to. And Luca, I just think that's huge, really, and that's going to affect his confidence.
Yeah, it will affect his confidence, but Dom is a seasoned racer in TGP2. He knows how to shake it off and reset for the next race in order to get the maximum out of it. So I'm not too concerned about Dom's demeanour at the moment. We'll see how he does in qualifying and see if he can get back into his groove and get back into form. But I don't have any kind of concerns there. But yeah, John Menzies with that all-important momentum. Owen Quemby will have had a nice kind of uplift from that race as well, finishing ahead of his fellow title rival. So yeah, I think the drivers are going to be all set for an almighty showdown under the lights in Abu Dhabi tonight.
Yep. So qualifying is now underway. We've got, I'd say, about 2/3 of the cars on track. But interestingly, none of the title contenders, which is giving the opportunity for everybody else to get a bit of airtime. So, Luca, we've had our first season then of these new regulations in TGP2. We saw yesterday in TGP1 Jack Hickman get crowned back-to-back champion in TGP1. But why do you think that Daniel P. Werner has struggled so much in the move to this game? Why do you think he hasn't been able to challenge for this title?
Yeah, it's probably a number of reasons. The first one I'd probably say is that the cars are completely different from the previous game. They, like they are in real life, they operate completely differently. There's a whole new philosophy for setups and aerodynamics and the way that the cars attack each corner. So that's probably one factor of it. Another one is it could be that he's just not found a setup for these cars as Jacko goes for a spin and nearly gets collected by a Ferrari. Dom Smith coming out of the pits there. But yeah, he's probably not found a setup he's comfortable with in order to attack those corners and to also maximise the speed down straights and things like that. So cars are harder to set up on this game as well. And if you don't have the car underneath you and you don't have the confidence in the car, you can't put in that almighty driving that you tend to have when you go for a title here. So all those factors adding together to make it one big problem for Daniel P. Wheelnut to defend his title. And all I can hope for is that next season he finds his groove and we can see him coming back to the form that he once was to become a TGP2 champion.
Well, let's hope so. He's been a notable absence from the top of the pile. It looked quite positive for him. He didn't come out of the blocks too badly, but it just never really clicked. And other drivers sort of started getting used to the cars, and he didn't. So, yes, anyway. We've had an incident for Neljak, Dom Smith's teammate, who is out of the session, actually. So not very good for him, as Lewis Craig, the first representative lap on the board, quickly followed by Jack Craig in P2. I'm going to be honest with anybody who's watching here. I have no idea if Lewis and Jack Craig are related. The amount of times I've nearly referred to them as brothers. Don't know. Maybe they're just PSN brothers. We go with that. We quite like that. But anyway, John Menzies is on a fast lap. He's just gone purple in the middle sector. And let's watch him through the final sector of this lap. Much change circuit. Let's not forget Luca as well. This is the first time TGP2 is going to be racing on the corrected, shall we say, Abu Dhabi circuit. Wasn't in the game last season, of course.
Yeah, some good changes I think they've made to this circuit.
Oh, wow. It's got to be a second faster.
That's a hell of a banker lap, I'd imagine. I mean, yeah, that's a fantastic lap. But yeah, sorry, I was saying, they've improved this section here, coming up to the hairpin to improve the overtaking opportunities as they've significantly widened this corner as well. So plenty of moves going into there, very similar to Kota earlier in the season. And then they made the second slow section after the second straight much better in terms of a long sweeping left-hander. However, it does catch drivers out if they're not running too much rear downforce or too high tide pressures, as the back end can really step out quite significantly, and the hotel section much quicker as well. Drivers need to be careful of the off-camber corner coming through the tunnel, if you like, in the hotel section, because that can really catch the drivers out as well. But yeah, I much prefer this circuit. I'm not sure what your opinion is on it.
Well, I think it's just a lot better, isn't it? You know, I think that the hairpin was a given that needed to be changed. It just didn't work before. As exciting as that quick left was into that then difficult right, it just made a hairpin just pointless. And I think what we've seen is better. It's a better track because of that. Something in me misses a little bit. I mean, we're riding with Dom Smith now, and we're just seeing him come to the end of the second straight. Something in me misses that section, annoyingly, because I didn't overly like it. But I think that they could have made that corner better. I don't think that part of the track is as good as it could be. The third sector is massively better. But my only criticism would be the penultimate corner, that challenging right-hander right at the end of the lap, just when you thought you got as far as you needed to, you were safe, you just had a couple of corners to go, that penultimate right, chuck it in, and you just hope you were going to keep it in the white lines, needing the car grip right at the end of the lap. Hopefully you hadn't taken too much out of tyres. Again, part of me misses that, but I think everything else has made this track a lot better. It's made it a track that's suitable for modern Formula 1 cars, and I think that the original design was just not thought about enough. There was a lot of very good sections. I mean, the two straights, I mean, what a fantastic idea. And especially the fact that neither of those are the start-finish straight, I think is brilliant. I hate it when the main straight of a racetrack is the start-finish straight. I think you need to have at least another longer straight, and here we got two. So I think that, yes, it is a much better facility now, and it caters for a lot of different types of racing, I'd say. But I just wish they'd done a better job on what is now the long left-hander at the end of the second straight.
Yeah, I mean, they are seriously limited by the geography of the circuit, with it being in a marina. I think you've got to remember as well, I can't remember when we started racing in Abu Dhabi.
2009.
2009, it was a much, much different car back then. You know, you could follow much closer because of the regulations. It was a different aerodynamics.
Different tyres as well, Bridgestone tyres.
Yeah, exactly. So it was probably more designed for a circuit and a car, F1 car, that was more suited to that. And I think we did get some good racing back then. But as the formula changed over the years and the cars got bigger and they were more reliant on fast sweeping corners rather than this slow mechanical grip, then I think the circuit just kind of fell out of like kilter.
But does F1 miss that?
As well.
Do you not miss the sort of mechanical grip side of Formula 1? I mean, the aerodynamic push that came in the 80s and the 90s and into the noughties, obviously massively towards the last part of the noughties. Does Formula 1 not miss that mechanical grip side of Formula 1? That that the skill in the chassis and the way the tyres were gripped to the circuit. Do we not miss a bit of that in Formula 1 these days?
I certainly don't miss it. I think there's too much reliance on aerodynamics, and then when you get close, you can get dirty air on these new cars as well. Nowhere near as bad as it was back in 2019, 2020, 2021 even. I think there's a massive lack of mechanical grip in F1 at the moment, and I think we would see much closer racing if mechanical grip was the deciding factor rather than aerodynamics when it came to the cars. But I don't think we're necessarily going to see that anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the only thing that I would work on, which I know a lot of people have talked about as well in the past, I mean, we could wax lyrical for hours and hours about how having V10s in Formula 1 would be the best thing possible, and I think There are a lot of fans who would agree. But I think the main thing that we need, and I've thought this for years, is we just need lighter cars. These things are just so heavy; they just lumber around corners, and there's something quite special about watching a video of Formula One gone past and seeing just a little light, nimble car being quite literally chucked around a circuit, and it just responding, or it not, and it biting hard.
Yeah, and I know obviously damage is not a thing that you necessarily want to get in F1, but it just seems to me that a driver drives over a curb too hard and a bit of carbon fibre comes off, and then the car is compromised for the rest of the race. And I just don't think that should be the case in Formula One. I think it should be a case of they can have a bit more argy-bargy, they can have a bit more going over these sausage curbs and going over the gravel and taking risks and everything, and it not being such a detrimental factor to the race, and they can still race. So yeah, better built cars, lighter cars, less reliant on aerodynamics. That would be my perfect formula.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that. And anyway, let us know in the comments what you think, by the way. Do get involved in this stream. I mean, Luke and I have done a very good job of glossing over a lot of action that we've been seeing going on the track in front of us. We're talking about important matters, like the current Formula or Formula One. But we've got just over 5 minutes to go, just ticked over underneath 6 minutes. We'll give you a rundown provisionally then of qualifying as we are at the moment. So John Menzies, then, your provisional pole sitter, hasn't beat yet his original lap time he set. So that first run, still 3.5 tenths quicker than anybody else. So John Menzies then turning it up the heat straight out of the blocks, the man in form, as we said. Lewis Craig at the moment in P2. Dom Smith put in a lap we saw just a few moments ago to put himself in P3. Owen Quimby was on a much better lap, but invalidated it in the final sector. He's down in P4 at the moment. He'll be looking to climb the order. Wet Lemons, his teammate, is P5 with Magic Poop Cannon P6. Jack Craig, P7 with Sayer Sports and P8. Speed Sully, P9. Bazza then rounding out the top 10. We're seeing a lot of drivers coming back into the pits, getting their cars ready for their last few runs. And we're seeing a few drivers starting some laps as well as on and out laps. So we've got Daniel P. Wilder, who we're watching now, just started a lap in his McLaren. We've talked about him quite a bit on this in this qualifying session as it is, and at the moment not finding any time through the first sector. If you're just joining us, then we've got 5 minutes left of the final round of the season 32 in TGP2. And we have just 17 points separating your top 3 drivers. To give you a little bit of a recap of what happened in Brazil, it was a disaster for Dom. He got spun at turn number 1, dropping him right down the order and to P17 at the end of lap 1. But he was saved with a virtual safety car, which allowed him to gain a few places pretty swiftly. The tyre stops happened as we'd expect. Everything seemed to be going to plan. But then with 2.5 laps to go, the heavens opened. Rain came down. Jack Craig, Lewis Craig, they'd stayed out waiting for the rain, and it came. And both of them ending up on the podium, with Jack Craig actually crossing the line in first place. But penalties meant that John Menzies, a man still in with a chance of taking his first ever TGP2 title, came through to win the race. And very important for him, with Owen Quimby finishing in P4 and Dom Smith finishing in P8. That means that with just one race to go, 26 points still up for grabs. Dom Smith is your championship leader. Owen Quimby in P2. Mayor Quimby on your screen, 14 points trailing. And John Menzies, John 1874 HMFC on your screen in P3, 17 points behind. And our stat man for the evening, John Luke Taylor, mentioned something quite interesting I saw a little while ago, Luca, is that if John finishes P2, Owen P3 and Dom P14, they would all tie on points at 279, and Owen Quimby would win on countback.
Yeah, that just shows you
Oh, imagine Pukan has just gone fastest. Wow.
Yeah. I was just about to comment on that. He's 9 thousandths quicker than John Menzies. It must have been an incredible lap. Unfortunately, I missed it. But John Menzies had a very strange outlap as he's starting now. Actually hit the barrier on the second straight.
I think he's got some damage. He just had massive understeer through that second turn.
Yeah. So I think he's really compromised his run here. He seems to be trying to get out of the way of everybody, and must have. I think he just had too cold of tyres and hit it into the barrier. So a bit of a strange one here, but not sure. We'll have a look at what his sector 2 time is and see if he's lost out significantly because of that. But Dom Smith on an outlap now as well, so we'll watch that closely too.
Owen Quimby is still in the pits. He's leaving it last minute. The AlphaTauri driver, P2 in the championship at the moment. John Menzies entered the end of sector 2. If he has got front wing damage, it's not affecting him too much, Luca. Look at that, 0.06 of a second up on his personal best, and with just a sector to go, are we going to see him restake his claim for pole position?
Yeah, an interesting one. He's coming through here. He's got a little bit of traffic ahead. Hopefully that doesn't affect his lap, as the Haas driver will hopefully get out of the way if it's not on a
danger
lap.
versus death. Oh no! Oh,
no, he's pulled out. He's pulled out. That's his qualifying over.
John Menzies then, man in third in the championship, has pulled into the pits and is not going any quicker then. John Menzies will start no better than second place. Owen Quimby is on a mount lap. I'd say who's on a lap though? Tom Smith. He's just started one. The Ferrari driver then. Let's ride on board with the man from the Isle of Man. After his 4th championship, no sign of Rodriguez Owen to save him this time. He's going to have to do it under his own steam. He's been titleless now since F1 2014, if I remember rightly, when he famously won a title here after some assistance from my good self, actually, for taking out his title rival, but also from someone else's PSN account and PlayStation after his failed to work. So Dom Smith then going up through the gears, 7th, 8th gear now. As we head towards the second split, we're going to get an understanding of where he is in relation to everybody else. And he's not improving, Luca.
Yeah, he's half a tenth down. He was 1200 down in the first sector. So hopefully if he can make up some time here in the third sector, hopefully somehow pulls out of the bag with that half a second that he is down from Magic Food Cannon and John Menzies. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. I mean, he's using plenty of the track here. And coming through that new right-hander, using the track nicely, nice and tidy, hits the apex, coming up to the line now. What's it going to be? He's
third
position. Yeah.
Oh, he's only a 10th off in the end. So
Mayor Quimby on a lap as well along the back straight. Along the back straight.
Yep, as he heads up now to the biggest braking zone on the track, going down through the gears all the way down to second gear, 50 mile an hour corner. Quick short shift up into third for better traction then. The clear visor, allowing us to see the concentration in the man from Norwich's eyes. As he comes up now to the second split, how's he doing? Oh, I tell you what, Luca, he's absolutely flying. He's 3.5 tenths up on his personal best. This is the lap time that Owen Quimby needed. This was the sort of session that Owen Quimby needed. It had not been going so well for him so far. He'd had a couple of scruffy laps. He'd invalidated his last lap at this corner he's coming to here. Does he keep it in the lines? He's got a Williams that spun in front of him. Did that put him off? We're going to find out in just a couple of corners' time. Just one corner to go then for the AlphaTauri driver. Is he going to put himself in the best place possible to take this championship? No, he can't. He misses out by 700ths of a second. But look at that, Luca. We've got second, third, fourth, your top 3 in the championship in reverse order.
Unbelievable. Dom must be seething at that gap between him and Mayor Quimby. But Dom just slowly coming into the pits now. It's unfortunate. Mayor Quimby got a little bit scruffy coming through the third sector there, through the hotel section. So he'll be probably kicking himself because I think he could have got pole position very easily if he'd managed to get that one done. But I think that's qualifying now over, isn't it, Mike?
Yep, that is our qualifying session finished for today. So, let's give you a rundown of your grid then. For one last time in season 32 of TGP2. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us this season, by the way. It's been an absolute classic, and we really hope that we're about to put on a championship decider which is going to be befitting of it. Your two drivers in the commentary box tonight have both taken TGP2 titles. Both of them have won them at this track we're at tonight, and both of them have won them at this track tonight in controversial manners. Let's hope we're not going to have any controversies tonight, though. And we will give you a rundown of your starting grid coming up now. So, Magic Poop Cannon takes a pole position for Alfa Romeo, with John Menzies third in the championship, second on the grid. Mayor Quimby second in the championship, third on the grid, and the championship leader Dom Smith in the Ferrari in P4. Lewis Craig will start P5 with his brother in P6. I've found out he's his brother now. Wet Lemons will be P7 with Sayre Sports in P8. Daniel Peel-Wilnut will be in 9th, with Speed Sully rounding out the top 10. Bazza is going to be in P11, Jacko P12, M-Step 13th with Angel vs Death 14th, Red Bull Kim in the other Haas in 15th, Kaya P16, Decisive Mackie P17, Mick Schumacher P18, Nell Jack P19, and Mr. John, as per usual, retiring from the session early before setting a lap and will start last. Oh, that was well timed. Little sound there. That worked out quite nicely. Luca, last thoughts then. Quickly, before the last race of the season, what can we expect?
Let's expect some spicy action going into the first few corners around here, as it gets very, very tight for the drivers, and some will be missing their braking points coming into turn one. So drivers have to be really careful not to be sandwiched coming around here. But if you can survive all through that, then there's going to be plenty of action on lap one, and it'll all be about a strategy race come later in the race.
Yep, well, we're looking forward to that. So let's see how we get on then as we're heading towards the last race of the season. The Ghost Pepper, the Carolina Reaper, and the Trinidad Scorpion are the spiciest chilies in the world. We've got three of the hottest drivers in TGB2 on the grid. We've got 5 lights, and we're underway in Abu Dhabi. And it's a good start for John Menzies. He's pulling up alongside Magic Poop Cannon as they head to turn one. Are we going to see him dive for the lead? No, we're not. But Owen Quimby has dived for second place, and John Menzies is spinning around by the Alpha Tauri driver. He's dropped to the back of the pack. Dom Smith was very cautious in the opening couple of corners and has kept his 4th place after the John Menzies spin. And as we head out to the hairpin for the first time, it's Magic Poop Cannon in the lead from Mayor Quimby, with Lewis Craig in 3rd and Dom Smith in 4th. And we've had a crash round the back. We've had Shep and Speed Sully involved. They're facing the wrong way. We've got a yellow flag out there. And I believe we've got a virtual safety car. But my goodness me, Luca, for the 2nd race in a row, we've had drama for a championship contender at turn number 1.
We have, and it's so unfortunate that he got spun round right at the start of the race. We'll have to see what John Menzies can do now to make up those positions to try and be within for the title fight, but it's going to look very, very slim chances at the moment with him down in 16th and out of the points. Dom Smith taking it very cautiously, coming across the inside of turn 1. So may have got an exceeding track limits warning there, but was the right thing to do with all of the chaos that was going on around him.
And Owen Quimby just sent it round the outside, and John, he left room for John, and the green flag is now flying again, and Magic Poop Cannon's got a good jump on Owen Quimby, I have to say. He left space for John, but I think John just understeered into him. His car heavy on fuel, and just with nowhere to go.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate one for him. Dom really losing out there from the VSC restart, as Jack Craig's all over the back of him, and he's nowhere near Lewis Craig at the moment. So Dom will have to be careful here not to lose too many positions. But as it currently stands, Dom will be winning the title, I think, with the points the way they are. So Dom in a good position here. Mayor Quimby will just have to do what he can, really, to try and take the lead from Magic Poop Cannon as he gets within 1 second of Magic Poop Cannon, that all-important DRS gap, to try and take the lead.
Yeah, well, let's see how this one goes then. So, as things stand at the moment, Dom Smith is just about doing enough in 4th place to win this title. I'll correct myself from what I said earlier. If Owen Quimby wins this race, Dom Smith is going to have to, with fastest lap, Dom Smith is going to have to be on the podium. And I have to say, Dom Smith is really struggling out there at the moment, and he's got Jack Craig now all over the back of him, and Dom Smith could be missing out on 5th place as it stands. Dom Smith is losing 5th place, moving down to 5th place as it stands, as Jack Craig has moved up into 4th place.
Yeah, Jack Craig using lots and lots of energy there by the looks of things, taking the fastest sector 2 of the race so far. So really wanting to get that moved on, and maybe Dom just saving some ERS for later in the race in order to positions, or it will be the title slipping out of his hands.
Yep, he's got Sayre Sports now behind him on the medium tyres as well. And Sayre Sports, let's not forget, Dom and Joe Sayre, very close friends. And Joe Sayre could be in a position to deny Dom Smith the title. John Menzies has made his way up to P13, now all over the back of Red Bull Kim. As Owen Quimby over a second now behind Magic Poop Cannon, not going to get DRS, which has been enabled for this lap. Dom Smith, though, still keeping up with Jack Craig, just 3 tenths behind him. As we head onto the main straight then for the third time. He's very close to the back of the Williams driver, but with Jack Craig also getting DRS off his younger brother, no chance of a move this time. Oh, we can see actually Jack Craig try and move on Lewis. Sorry to interrupt you there, Luca.
Yeah, no worries. It looks like Dom has really saved his ERS here. 75% ERS for Dom Smith, whereas it's 25% for Jack Craig and 70% for Lewis Craig. So, yeah, Dom and Lewis really saving their energy here. Jack Craig probably at the disadvantage here as he goes for a move on his brother into that long sweeping left-hander, and they're all coming out side by side here. He goes for the switch back on the inside, but yeah, it looks like he's not going to get this one done. But this will be helpful for Dom as they can keep fighting and they'll lose time to him.
Yep, and also that will mean as Joe Sayre picks up a 3-second penalty. Oh, is Lewis Craig letting his brother through? If he is, he's not doing a very good job at it. These guys now 4 seconds behind Owen Quimby, and we are seeing Jack now once again on the RS deployment. And Lewis Craig, and I don't really know what was going on there, but it wasn't very ideal for either of them. They lost a lot of time, and this is losing Dom Smith a lot of time.
Yeah, it is. Sorry to interrupt there. It's getting messy. Dom had to really brake early for turn 1 as they were squabbling then, and Sayre Sports really coming back into the action here. So this is going to be a 4-way fight for P3. And Dom's got to be really careful here not to lose another position as the points won't look good for him from the title race.
Yeah, Joe Sayre also just backing off on the main straight there, and that leaves now him open to attack from Daniel Pierre-Wilnut. He's going to go up the inside, is he? No, thinks better of it. But these 5 locked in battle, it seems, and that is allowing Owen Quimby and Magic Poop Cannon to get away. Owen Quimby just half a second behind the Alfa Romeo driver, and with a very good chance maybe of taking the race lead. Meanwhile, as they were then, Jack Craig, Lewis Craig and Dom Smith, 3rd, 4th and 5th, with Joe Sayre behind. Oh, and Daniel Pierre-Wilnut very nearly losing the back end of his car, heading out to the long left-hander. So, as things stand at the moment, your champion for season 32 will still be Dom Smith, but only just. If Mayor Quimby can get past Magic Poop Cannon, then as things stand at the moment, he will not be champion. Oh, and we're seeing Jack Craig pitting. That is jolly early. The Williams driver backing out quickly. He was low on ERS. Maybe he was low on tyres as well, Luca.
Yeah, it looks like he's made an early stop there. Maybe trying to get that all-important undercut that it happens round here. So could come to him as an advantage, but this leaves Lewis Craig wide open for Dom to be attacking him down the back straight now. So maybe not the best tactic there between the two brothers to try and get as much position as they can. But yeah, let's see how Dom will attack here and if he will use some ERS now.
He's not using ERS at the moment, maybe saving it for the second straight. But look at Joe Sayre. Dom's having to jump on the ERS now because Joe Sayre, the Aston Martin, is to the inside. Later on the brakes, and Joe Sayre has made up a place. And Dom Smith, trying to play the long game, has cost him out dearly. Lewis Craig has now run wide as well. Dom Smith jumping on. He's had a really good exit there, and he's jumped Joe Sayre already. And he could have a very good opportunity of jumping the Red Bull as well. To the inside. And at the end of Sector 2, Dom Smith has now got past the Red Bull and is up into 3rd place, but Joe Sayre's come with him.
What an excellent camera angle that was going into that corner as Dom Smith, yeah, he seemed to absolutely get that right. And is that a VSC that's come on?
It's a safety car. It's a full safety car, I believe. I'm seeing a little safety car symbol in my mini-map, and I think we've lost Mick Schumacher. So, wow, an awful time to pit from Jack Craig. We're going to see, I'm sure, a lot of drivers, including Joe Sayre as well, on those medium tyres, just knowing that now is the best time to pit. And who's going to come out of this the best? Dom Smith, then, is coming to the box. Is he going to be held up in the stops? How good are Ferrari's pit mechanics going to be? We know from the past that they're not always particularly good, but this time they deliver him a good service.
He's not been held up there, and he's
Owen's jumped magic poop cannon. Owen leads the race. So he relied on his pit mechanics, and they've done him very well. And Owen Quimby, Mayors Quimby, has put himself in a great position as Dom Smith now in 4th place. This is going to get very mathematic, but if things finish as they are, Owen doesn't have the fastest lap though. So Dom would still be champion by 1 point if things finished as they are. If Owen Quimby picks up the fastest lap, and things finish as they are at the moment, Mayor Quimby would be a 3-time TGP2 champion on countback. Now, let's not forget that Dom has already lost a TGP2 title very recently on countback, where I can't remember for the life of me which season it was, and I'm so sorry to you all. But once again, Dom Smith could be denied a title on countback if Owen Quimby gets the fastest lap.
Wow. Yeah, so Dom Smith has it all to play for here, and he needs to make sure that he gets the move early on Jack Craig and gets up that road to ensure that podium, because the last thing you want to be doing is trying to work out mathematics in the car at this point, and you just want to be knowing that you've got those points in the bag and you can get over the line, because the stress levels now must be through the roof for Dom Smith. Mayor Quimby must be rubbing his hands at the moment. He is loving this. Where is John Menzies? John Menzies in 10th place at the moment, so doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere near this title fight, unfortunately. But yeah, Dom really has his work cut out, and he really needs to get the hammer down when that safety car does finally come in.
We are seeing a few more drivers peel off into the pits now. We've got Lewis Craig, who's come back into the pits. I can only presume to put a new set of softs on. We actually got quite a few drivers that are coming to the pits. There's about 5 drivers that are coming to the pits there. Perhaps opting for some soft tyres, but I think John Menzies' title challenge was over at turn 1. You know, it was gutting for him, but that spin and on a track like this, unlike in Brazil, you just can't make up that sort of time. He's had help from a VSC and now a safety car, but you know, he needs to be winning this race, and with Dom Smith scoring next to no points, and at the moment that just isn't happening. Yeah, so I think we've got a 2-horse race now, and Owen Quimby is putting himself right where he needs to take this title.
Indeed. Yeah, important for drivers to obviously keep those tyres warm during the safety car periods, as the surface and carcass tyre model that we're using now really does significantly cool the tyres into these safety car conditions. So important for the drivers to be weaving down the straight, really working the tyres through the corners under that slow safety car. So this will be an interesting one to see how the safety car restart goes and what Owen's going to do in terms of making the pack bunch up and really ready to go. And Dom's really going to have to be ready for it, because he doesn't want to lose out, as the safety car's going to be in this lap.
Well, here we go then. We've got... How many laps are we going to have after this, Luca? My math makes it 8 laps after this lap. Well, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your whatever you can hold on to, because you're going to need it. And at this rate, this is going to be a fantastic climax to what has been a very, very good TGP2 season. Dom Smith, early out the blocks, took a lot of race wins, but as the season's progressed, he hasn't been consistent. And has Owen dropped the hammer? I thought he dropped the hammer yet, but not quite. And no, with 8 laps to go, the safety car's only going around the penultimate corner now. Let's see what happens. When is Owen going to go? He's going to be watching his mirrors. And is he going to leave it to the last moment, Luca? What's going through his mind right now?
Yeah, he's just thinking, when's the best time can I drop the hammer here? He looks like he's going to take it all the way up to the start-finish line by the looks of things. He's dropped the hammer now. He's got the ERS going, so he's really going now. Drivers now just looking for that first braking point, making sure the tyres are nice and warm, as Dom Smith has dropped a little bit there from from Jack Craig, but with Sayers Sports right on the back of him, so not the best start for Dom, but Mayor Quemby hasn't got the jump, but he spun! Mayor Quemby spun!
Oh my goodness me! Owen Quimby is spinning down the order. He was looking fantastic for another title, but he's thrown it all away as he faced backwards on the exit of turn number 3, and the AlphaTauri driver has now gone from leading the race to being P11, and I think the irony is his teammate had a problem as well in those first couple of corners because he's dropped all the way to the back, but my goodness gracious me, they don't make it easy for themselves as Dom has relinquished third place as well now to Joe Sayer, but he doesn't need to worry about that. He just needs to stay where he is.
Unbelievable scenes. He just lost it coming out of turn 3. Mustn't have had the tyres up to temperature, or must have just had too much ERS use going through there, as Dom Smith looks like he could lose another position here to Daniel P. Wheelnut.
And maybe his teammate as well.
And his teammate as well. So Dom not getting the best tyre warm up.
Look at John!
Restart. But unbelievable scenes here. I mean, John Menzies has brought himself back into the race now. Nowhere near obviously getting the title. He needs to be well.
Oh, John spun! John spun! Oh my goodness me, it's all falling apart. John tried an audacious move up the inside of Dom's teammate, and it sent him tumbling down the order once again. No one wants to win this title. They just want to hand it to Dom Smith, who's still warming his tyres up, and none of them want it. None of them want this title.
As Dom Smith goes wide through turn 1, Mayor Quemby in 10th position at the moment, right on the back of Indecisive Mackie, so not fully out of this race, but yeah, he's going to have to really work these next 6 laps or so to make it up to Dom and to try and fight for that title battle. But Dom just needs to keep his cool now, really start to get back into the rhythm and get those tyres up to temperature and not lose any more positions to anybody behind, because yeah, before you know it, could be Owen right on the back of him. So yeah, wow, some drama unfolding here from the safety car restart that I just didn't expect, Mike.
My goodness me, it just all looked so easy. Owen just had to finish where he was. Hope Dom lost another place and job done, but no, he spun, and then John was suddenly back in the fight. Could have turned something out, but no, he spun. And Dom is now having to look in his mirrors because his good friend and fellow Manxman Daniel P. Wilnut trying an audacious move around the outside, and perhaps people are going to be taking advantage of Dom over the next few laps, as he just needs to keep it clean.
Indeed, and we saw a great little title fight as well. Sorry, great little fight there for second position from Sayer Sports and Jack Craig in the same spot that Daniel P. Wheelnut overtook Dom as well. So far from settled here as DRS is finally enabled after the safety car restart, which should help Dom here with what seems to be a lack of pace coming through the straights, maybe running a bit more downforce than the drivers around him. So
Dom spun! Dom spun! He's round! Jacko's out! My goodness me! What is it with championship contenders and spinning? Mayor Quimby's out of the race as well! I mean, I was joking when I said no one wants to win this. There's a safety car out. I tell you what, Owen has just pulled into the pits to retire. He just retired from this race on his own accord, just as his title rival spins.
Wow. Why would you retire in TGP2 when anything can happen, as this race has clearly shown? I'm speechless. I'm speechless that he gave up so easily in the title battle. He could have been leading and won the title. Unbelievable scenes.
I cannot believe what we've just witnessed. This is Owen Quimby going full self-destruct. Not even full self-destruct. You know, he's just whacked a SAR bomb on himself, isn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, that is unbelievable. As you said, Luca, anything can happen in TGP2. Anything. And more often than not, it does. There was still chance for another safety car, which came. He pulls into the pits, he fits the soft tyres, and he retires from the race. Had he stayed out...
I'm getting some intel here through. Turns out that he had rear wing damage, too significant for him to continue on. So he did have to actually retire the car in the pit lane.
What did he hit, though?
I'm not sure. It must have been from a second spin or something. But yeah, the car was too damaged and he's had to retire.
Dom Pitts. Oh, we're seeing a lot of drivers dive into the pits. Jack Craig's in the pits, Sayer Sports in the pits, Lewis Craig in the pits, Dom Smith in the pits, and John Menzies in the pits. I would have stayed out if I was John. That's silly. Why do the same? Stay out. No one wants to win this title, Luca. I'm convinced by it. No one wants it. Do they all just want to stay in TGP2? I'm flabbergasted.
It seems to be the league. Everybody wants to stay in when they're on the cusp of winning this. But yeah, I'm absolutely speechless. Why nobody wants to win this? Magic Poop Cannon there, out in the lead again, with Daniel P. Wheelnut in second place. And come the start of this race, I didn't expect them to even be in this kind of position. Mayor Quemby, unfortunately, having to retire the car due to too much damage on the rear from a secondary spin. Yeah, John Menzies, I don't know why he didn't take the gamble. He didn't have anything to lose.
Well,
he had everything to gain.
He did. He would have been about 6th right now, and instead he's 15th.
Yeah.
Dom would have been 15th. I don't understand that. That's stupid. John, when you watch this back, you're stupid. The only way you were going to get the one over on Dom was doing the opposite of whatever he did. And I don't understand that. Anyway, let's catch our breath, Luca. We have still got a race going on. There is still actually people who are trying to win this race, believe it or not, because none of the title rivals are. Owen Quimby then is confirmed he will not be winning this season's CGP2 title. Magic Poop Cannon is currently your race leader with Daniel P. Wilnut in P2. God, Luca, we were talking about him at the beginning of this show, saying that he's not had a very good season, but here he is now in P2. He's proving us wrong. Nailjack, P3 with M-Shep P4. Indecisive Mackie, the highest runner on the soft tyres, in P5. Sayer Sports, he didn't pit. I wonder if he had a spin. But he was tumbling down the order, so I wonder if he just had a spin or something, because he's down in P6. And he was fighting for the lead, I think, if I remember rightly. But
yeah, he was. He was up in P2 before the safety car period. So yeah, I can only imagine he's had a spin or he's gone wide and lost some positions. But yeah, Daniel P. Wheelnut, yeah, it's a good point about him now actually in second position. He's actually had quite good pace throughout this race, challenging Dom, overtook Dom very easily before, and I think he's just taken advantage of everybody not wanting to win the race, as you said before. So yeah, he's up in P2. He's in a very good position to attack Magic Poop Cannon and could potentially win this race.
How many title deciders can you think of where 3 drivers went into the race, all with an opportunity of winning the title? All of them at some point have had a spin. And now the only 2 that are remaining are in 14th and 16th. Something's happened to John because he's dropped behind the wet lemons. Owen's gone home. Can't say I blame him. He doesn't want to stick around and see. At the moment, he's only scoring 1 point. We've got the safety car in this lap, but Dom is going to win the title.
Yeah, it's very few is the answer to your question. But yeah, I don't know what's happened to John Menzies there.
He pitted again. He pitted again, sorry.
He pitted again, right. A second time, I don't fully understand.
And I can only presume that the tyres he put on were worn. I don't know. I don't know really what any of them are doing this race. It's been an interesting spectacle. Luca, we're going to have 3 laps to go after this. And unfortunately for everybody watching, I think it's almost a given who's going to win this title. Because I can't see John moving his way up to second place. And Poop Cannon's just gone. He is... Has he? No, he hasn't gone.
No, he's gone too early. The safety car wasn't in the pit lane. He's had to slow down again.
Not very good.
But that's given Daniel P. Wheelnut a bit of an issue with Nelda.
Oh, Joe Sayer off in the background.
Joe Sayer's gone off in the background, but yeah, they're really close now as M-Shep are really capitalising on this well as he goes slightly wide. Let's see if the drivers can all make it through.
Oh, we got a car in the wall. Baz is in the wall.
Hit the wall.
At the same place where his teammate retired. That's 2 DNFs and Mercedes. Meanwhile, look at Alex Coates. He's going up the inside of Daniel Pierre-Wilnut. He's had a race win already this season. He's trying to go for another one. Daniel Pierre-Wilnut, though, has held it round the outside. And as we head onto the main straight now, he's right in the wheel tracks of the McLaren driver. He's emptying his battery as quickly as he can. He wants a chance at the end of the straight to move up into second place. Alex Coates late on the brakes. Daniel Pierre-Wilnut covers it late, but he's run a little bit wide. And as they head through the second part of this corner now and onto the second straight, Alex Coates is still right with him. But look at M-Shep. M-Shep's there as well. M-Shep's going to try and power his way past the Ferrari driver around the outside. They're almost neck and neck. Alex Coates holds the inside line as they go to the end of the second straight. And for the moment at least, he holds on to third.
Oh, a bit of a moment there for M-Shep going through that long right hander. He had to get out of it and he's really lost some time there. But yeah, Alex Coates right on the back of Daniel P. Wheelnut yet again. So Daniel seemed to have some issues there on tyre warm-up from the safety car restart. But yeah, despite the title battle coming to a bit of a hollow finish, plenty of action still going on in the race here, Mike.
Yeah, plenty of other drivers still care about this race, clearly. As we head on now to the penultimate lap, Magic Poop Cannon's got the jump on everybody else. 2.4 seconds his advantage over the man you can see on screen now, Daniel P-Wheelnut, over Alex Coates and over M-Shep. These three all on slightly older medium tyres, pitted at the same time as Magic Poop Cannon. And at the moment, all fighting for second place. M-Shep hoping to try and make it 2 Alfa Romeos on the podium. Let's not forget that Alfa Romeo haven't had the greatest of seasons. And they'll be hoping to finish with a bang, and Magic Poop Cannon seems to be in a good place to rectify that. Dom Smith, I think, is just driving around for fun at the moment. He's in 14th. I don't think he really cares. Can't say I really blame him.
Up to 11th place as well there, Mike. So yeah, I think Dom's really not trying. Well, lots of things, but I don't think he really needs to unless John Mendes is going to get up into the top 5 position. So yeah, I think he's just taking it all in. We might see some donuts.
Might see some donuts. Hey, that's normally Kim and Marco that provide those, but thankfully Marco isn't in the race anymore, so we won't see him do any. Meanwhile, Jack Craig has just made his way up into P7. Alex Coates still putting pressure on Daniel P-Wheelnut, and M-Shep still putting pressure on him. Joe Sayer right behind Indecisive Mackie as well. We've got 2 McLarens under pressure as we head around the final few corners of this penultimate lap, and we start the final lap of season 32 of this TGP2 campaign. And to a last race that promised so much, and unfortunately so far delivered so little. John Menzies has just made his way past Michael Kenny, Angel versus Death, and it's gone a bit messy, and that could leave Wet Lemons with an opportunity to squeeze past the Aston Martin driver, but no, Dom Smith right there as well. And Luca, I can't help but feel... Oh, Joe Sayer's spun. Joe Sayer is round and dropping down, as is Jack Craig, and that's given Dom Smith an opportunity to move up now into P9 as John Menzies trying to take P7 off of Lewis Craig. And Luca, I was about to come on to say, I can't help but feel like we've been robbed of what was looking like it was good. I mean, there's been such drama, it's been great fun to watch, but it could have been so much better. As meanwhile, Alex Coates is all over the back of Danny P-Wheelnut as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We've been robbed of what could have been an absolutely incredible showdown in Abu Dhabi, but with various spins and car damage, forcing retirements, and I just feel it's a bit of a hollow title fight. This race, unfortunately, is yeah, it's just one of those that I thought we could have got some more action out of it, and we could have had a bit more of an exciting finish. But at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be titles that people remember more than the final races of the season. So yeah, I think Bob will be happy with this.
Magic Poop Cannon's certainly going to remember this as he rounds the final corner and wins yet again in TGP2. The former champion takes the win. Daniel P-Wheelnut is going to hold on for second place ahead of Alex Coates and M-Shep, but we're now looking for the other Ferrari driver with just one corner to go. He's had to wait so long for this 4th title, but finally Dom Smith is a 4-time champion in TGP2. The Manxman, who broke the record this season for most wins in TGP2, finally gets that 4th title, and then Ferrari colours. Everyone in Italy will rejoice. They're going to put their pasta and their sangria, that's Spanish, down for just a moment, and they're going to celebrate profusely for yet another TGP2 title. And Neljak takes driver there in the other Ferrari, so that gives them something else to celebrate about. But Luca, Dom Smith, a 4-time TGP2 champion.
Yeah, he's driven consistently throughout this season. He's done what you need to do in TGP2 to get those titles, and yeah, I think a fitting champion. It's based on the whole overall season. Shame, as I said, it's not been a exciting, fiery battle right up to the end. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think it's a well-deserved title. As I think it's a well-deserved podium for all 3 of those drivers up there at the moment, Mike.
Well, I think that, you know, those top 4 actually, let's not forget M-Shep, he did a jolly good job too. You know, the 4 of them put on a great race, while the supposed elite of this season were crumbling under the pressure. Magic Poop Cannon lifts the trophy and takes another race win. Really good job from the Estonian, and he'll be pleased with that one. His team certainly are. There's a few smiles there, you can see. And that's another season wrapped up then. Well, it wasn't quite the showdown we were all hoping for, but it certainly was full of drama. And I hope all of you enjoyed watching these two races as much as Luca and I did. And as the champagne sprays, let's give you a rundown of the championship order, and then we will go and have an interview with your new 4-time TGP2 champion. But before we do that, let's give you a rundown of the classifying order for the United Arab Emirates Grand Prix, if it eventually loads. We know you're all absolutely dying to know what the final results were, so...
I have them on my screen here, Mike, so I'll run through them for you.
Thank you, Luca.
Magic Pip Cannon in first position with Daniel P. Wheelnut in second. Nail Jack, Alex Curtin third, M. Shep in fourth. Indecisive Mackie fifth. John Menzies sixth, making good recovery from that spin earlier on. Dom Smith in seventh. Lewis Craig in eighth. Wet Lemons in ninth, with Mr. John rounding out your top 10. Then we have Angel vs. Death 11th. Saya Sports 12th. Kaya 13th. Jack Craig 14th. Red Bull Kim 15th. Azza 16th. Jacko 17th, Mayor Quemby 18th, unfortunate for him, and unfortunately I didn't catch the last two positions, I'm afraid.
Well, I think you did a grand job, all things considered, Luca. I certainly was very impressed with your little job there. But we're now joined by your new 4-time TGP2 champion, Dom Smith. Welcome, and well, congratulations, of course.
Thank you. That was a crazy race, wasn't it? Owen and John Menzies, I don't know what happened to the pair of them, but I couldn't believe it when they both just spun themselves around. And yeah, I don't think I needed to do anything after that, but I spun myself at turn one, dropped to the back. But yeah, thankfully I'd done enough beforehand. But yeah, good feeling. Very happy to have won.
You seem to be very cautious in the first couple of corners. I'm presuming that was obviously a conscious thing, but that did end up you losing obviously a position to the Red Bull, but perhaps kept you out of trouble from what was happening with John.
Yeah, so I kind of just took it way too cautiously maybe at the start, but then maybe that did pay off because I kept out of other things. But then suddenly I was stuck behind both Craigs. They were going so slow. I think they were too busy fighting each other, so I kind of just sat behind and waited for one of those two to pit, which they did. I managed to get one in the end once Lewis lost the DRS, but yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that both Owen and John had incidents, because I think otherwise, I think Owen would have been champion had he not spun. I didn't see what happened. I assume he spun himself at turn 3.
Was there an issue
yes,
with the
he did.
medium
Yeah.
tyres? Dom, was there an issue with the medium tyres for the runners having so many spins on them, or was it just a case of the championship pressure was getting to the top 3 in the championship, which all resulted in a spin in the end?
It might be that. I don't know. I had no pace, no confidence. Even when I knew the title was kind of done, and me and John were at the back, Owen was out the race, I still had no pace whatsoever on those mediums, so I had no confidence. I don't know what it was, just for some reason tonight the confidence hasn't been there. Even when I knew it was kind of in my favour. So I don't know what it was, but yeah, me, John and Owen all really struggled, and it was nice to see a result where I don't think any of us made the top 5 in the end.
No, well, it certainly kept us on the edge of our toes. And Dom Smith, you are once again TGP2 champion, and you are going to be making the step up next season to TGP1. What can we expect from you next season?
Well, before this week, I was quite confident of going up and doing pretty well, but I think I might have to stay in TGP2 for another season, Mike, because I don't think I have the pace tonight to go up. But we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice to kind of fight for the midfield or the low field next season, and yeah, and then who knows, I'll be back in TGP2 next season for some more wins, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Well, Dom, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for putting on a show tonight. Some great overtaking out there. Luca, some final thoughts from you then before we wrap up this season and on tonight. How do you? What are your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, takeaways from tonight is that, as I said earlier in the commentary, anything can happen in TGP2, and you just have to keep chipping away at it, keep your consistency, and keep going. I think it's been an absolutely excellent season to be able to commentate on. Some great drama, some great action, some fantastic, close, clean, fair racing as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure this season to be able to commentate on a few races, and I really look forward to seeing what TGP2 can spit out next season and who will be challenging for that title for next season. So, yeah, really good one. And it's been a pleasure tonight to commentate with you, Mike.
Yeah, and you, Luca. Thank you for inviting me along to commentate tonight as well. Well, and thank you for everyone watching, of course. throughout this whole season. We couldn't have done it without you. So, and for one last time then, this has been a DGP Series production. I've been Mike Noon, he's been Luca Chiapelli. Your champion is Dom Smith. But for now, we'll see you on PS4.